So Ryan, obviously couriers play a really important role in the safeguarding process. And so I wanted to talk through and have you talk us through some of the ways in which couriers might optimize their workflow, or more to the point, what you and your team look for when partnering with couriers.
Yeah, thinking a little bit more on some of Ricky's comments. Another thing that we think about, and couriers play a role in this, but internally but externally, is actually pulling in the supply chain team and the supply chain relationships earlier in the drug development process. Oftentimes, we can brute force one or two products to start a clinical trial, and we maybe aren't thinking ahead to what that commercial need is when you actually get to those 40,000 patients a year, and there's 20 different companies that are having that target. It doesn't scale. The brute force method doesn't scale, and so really pulling in on your program teams, your CMC teams, making sure that First in Human has supply chain representation to talk about what does this look like on success? What does it look like when we go from treating one patient at one hospital to now we've got globally treating patients across multiple hospitals that aren't necessarily research centers that have all the expertise and all the equipment in place to be able to handle troubleshooting. And so being able to build that relationship early is super important from a supply chain perspective. From a courier's perspective, again, building those relationships, educating them on what's going on, when to actually pick up the phone, make a call, how to actually don't try to wait until it's too late and try to problem solve stuff. Just actually build the relationship, have the phone call, the phone number in place, and being able to have that conversation as soon as possible, super important. And then I think just the more data we can get, the better. And so making sure, temp tails are great, redundancy is great, but having that real-time data tracking is important. And so that's an area that we're working on. Not everybody's doing it right now, but I think they should be. And so really trying to educate the value of having that, even though it might be an additional cost.
Yeah, sure. Real-time data is key. I think that's probably something everyone on today's live event is certainly dealing with and wishing that they had more of. So, Ricky, I would like to hear from you too, the ways in which you and your team, how you rely on couriers and some of the, what you and your team are looking for when you're partnering with them.
Yeah, it's a great question. The couriers that we use right now, they do a great job of really this kind of white glove service, right? It's custom critical. It's a lot of jobs that are direct. Pick it up, that driver takes it, gets it where it's supposed to go. But that's not scalable. Ryan talked a little bit earlier about kind of tracking and how do you track these critical shipments and do that. What's missing right now is kind of this monitoring and tracking as a whole system. So we all know Amazon, we get excited. I get an email that says, driver is 10 stops away, and it's like Christmas every day because the box comes in. It could be a $1 item, it could be a $500 item. But what's comforting as the consumer is that where it's at, when it's being delivered. And whether you want to know that or not, you can determine what information is important to you. What's missing in our current space is that tracking. Every company I've been at, when I start, somebody will always say to me, why aren't we using FedEx? Why aren't we using, UPS, DHL? And it's because those are integrators. So when you're shipping these very expensive, important, critical shipments that are on a very fixed, short timeline, when those shipments are, consolidated at various centers around the world or the U.S., if it gets stuck, it's stuck, and you don't have the ability to pull it out and move it. So one of the reasons we use the couriers that we use is because they have the ability to use next flight out and to get in the middle of something when it's not working out right, to call, an airport, to call an airline and say, I need to get that package back in my hands so that I can, put it on a jet, to put it on a charter flight, whatever emergency situations require. What I would love to see, and what we're starting to have conversations with our couriers, is how do we build in a system where we're barcode scanning along the way, and we have certain timelines and critical points along the way. There's really 6 of them. There's when you're flying something, there's the pickup, there's the tendering to the airline, there's the flight departure, the flight arrival, the recovery of the package, and then ultimately the delivery to where it goes. If those 6 simple timelines could be tracked in a system where somebody is barcode scanning it along the way, that would be a huge win. It doesn't exist right now. I'm not sure why, because it's been around a long time, right? FedEx does it, UPS does it, even USPS does it. So the conversations I'm having is, how do we build that out now with the couriers that we use, so that we have that visibility to see where the package is at. And we're working on some other projects where we're trying to incorporate AI, machine learning, to kind of look at the schedules, grab data from the cloud from the various places where that data lives, like master airway bills with airlines, the scanning, GPS tracking devices, etc. How do we inculcate all that data and look for what's not happening when it's supposed to happen, getting a proactive notification, and then acting on that, so that we're only monitoring the exceptions, and everything else that's working as it should, we don't have to worry about. So that's what needs to be built, and that needs to be built soon, because again, this business is doubling every year, and